Welcome back, Unpeelers. Last Wednesday night, our very own Jim Boeheim from the Syracuse men's basketball team was involved in a fatal car accident in which Boeheim struck 51-year-old Jorge Jimenez with his SUV. Prior to the collision, his car had spun out of control and he was in the process of crossing the road to safety when Boeheim accidentally hit him with his vehicle. Boeheim passed all sobriety tests and cooperated with authorities, leading us to believe that there will be no reason for any criminal charges to be brought up against him. Here with more details on the accident is Syracuse Unpeeled City reporter Natalie Fahmy. Hi Natalie, how are you doing tonight?
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
Sad to be here on these terms.
Yeah, it's not the best situation, but Jim Boeheim did wind up coaching in Saturday's game against Duke. What was the reaction from the Jimenez family that he was at that game?
They weren't very happy that he was at that game. His stepson actually said in an interview that it's not fair that Jimenez is going to be coaching such a big game so soon when their family is going to be in mourning, and Jimenez's mother actually was on the same page saying the family's going to be at home crying and Boeheim is going to be out there coaching as if he doesn't care. So they were not very happy about that.
No, I'm sure they weren't. But how will the funeral costs be covered?
So originally there was a GoFundMe page started with the goal of $15,000, but the manager of the A. DeWitt Memorial Funeral Homes actually just said that the funeral will be covered by businesses, so the funeral, the cremation, and the flowers will all be paid for.
That's fantastic. Now, Boeheim, let's go back to Saturday for a little bit. How was he greeted at the Dome?
So actually when he walked in, he got a standing ovation by both Syracuse and Duke fans. And then when he got to the sideline, actually a close friend of his came up to him, gave him a hug, and shared a few private words with him.
And just one thing, when you mentioned that, who was coaching in that game, you said Jimenez. Yes, Jim Boeheim was the coach of that game. Just a slight correction that we wanted to bring up. But did they do anything to honor Jimenez at the game? I mean, obviously you mentioned the reception towards Boeheim. Obviously the victim is who really the attention should be brought to. So what happened at the Dome?
So the public speaker actually came out and made a statement honoring Jimenez. That was followed by a moment of silence by the crowd, coaches, and players.
All right, great. Well, yes, definitely a sad story, but after the Dome paid respects to Jimenez, the Syracuse-Duke game began. Duke beat Syracuse 75-65 despite Syracuse's lead at the half. Here to give us a play-by-play of the game is Syracuse Unpeeled sports reporter Chris Sacchi. Chris, how are we doing today?
Good, good.
Let's get back on a lighter note.
Yeah,
now.
could be better if Syracuse pulled out the win, but still doing all right.
So, of course, we all saw that it was a close game, but how did fans react as the game went on in the Dome?
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse was leading at the half by 5 points, so there was kind of maybe a little bit of a cockiness aspect to it with the fans, a little bit of more confidence, considering that Syracuse beat Duke 95-91 earlier this season. There was some confidence by the fan base. Now, of course, as the second half went on, the score got a little bit more out of hand. Duke went on a run. They went on Alex O'Connell, who was brilliant in the game for Duke. He had 20 points. He had a back-breaking three. Put Duke up 45-43 in the second half, and after that, Duke did not look back. Ended up, of course, winning the game.
So one of the big players that was not playing in the game, probably the biggest player in all of college basketball right now, Zion Williamson. He wasn't there. It was still a record-breaking crowd at the Dome. How was the atmosphere despite the absence of Zion?
Yeah, I mean, I think his absence had a lot to do with the fact that College Game Day didn't come to Syracuse, which disappointed fans, but by the time of the game, and even though with his absence as well, fans were already really into it. I think the game day environment was still fantastic, despite the fact, of course, that he wasn't playing. R.J. Barrett stepped up as well. I mean, not the number 2 recruit, the number 1 recruit for Duke. So he still put up 30 and had
Which
a fantastic
5-star
game.
is going to show up?
Exactly. I mean, we didn't have one 5-star, but don't worry, there were 2 others with Barrett and Cam Reddish on the floor for Duke.
All right, but what was the environment like around the campus in general? How was that whole thing for those maybe who didn't end up going to the game?
So, despite the fact that we had the Boeheim accident coming in, the absence of Zion Williamson, there was still a fantastic energy. I thought it would have been a little bit more somber, but it was really about calm before the storm to start, and then as the game kind of got earlier, the weather was decent too. It was about 40 degrees and sunny, so people around here loved that. So I think despite the fact, everything that happened before the game, the energy was fantastic.
That's the most you could really hope for.
It was a good day for a basketball game.
That's
basically.
right. Now coming up on Syracuse Unpeeled, the Oscars recap begins.
So don't go anywhere.